Today it's more or less 4 weeks since I took my Aquaforest Air Scrubber into operation. Let me tell you the results, the reason why also you should maybe look into that product, and as well as some pros and cons for the product itself. So let's get into it. So maybe just to start off quick, something to the product itself. So the Aquaforest Air Scrubber media itself claims to efficiently remove carbon dioxide and with that boost the coral growth by stabilizing the pH. It claims that it can raise your pH by 0.2 to 0.4 units. We also get into the results a little bit afterwards. And also a big thing why I wanted to try this one is just kind of the body, the intake of the air is actually on the bottom, and it has a little area where some water goes inside, so it kind of always gives some moisture with the air intake to your media. And that's also what I already do since couple years. I use CO2 scrubber since couple of years, not the Aquaforest one. And I always had to keep my media a little bit moist, because then I get actually the most time out of it. Because otherwise you put your media into your reactor, and usually after a week the media is depleted and you're back at your low pH. But there's some tricks that you can actually extend that. Then also just talk about some key feature, innovative technology to boost media's lifespan and efficiency. So that's one is definitely true. And I tell you a little bit later how long I was able to expand my life of the media, not my own life. Then it stabilizes day and night pH level. Not really for me, because I let it run 24 hours. So that's maybe only if you kind of activate it in the off cycle, so during the night, because during the day, your corals with the lights and everything, they absorb also a little bit CO2. So in the night, if you kind of switch maybe your skimmer only on in the night, maybe that's then true, but not really in my case. It prevents sudden DKH changes. Also not really sure if I really saw any kind of changes there. Compatible with most skimmers. I have to tell you, with my Red Sea one, I actually had to make a little adaptation piece that it goes to the pipe Aquaforest brings with the skimmer, but it was absolutely no problem. And usually as a reefer you have like all kinds of little tubing laying around, but it was not just like an immediate fit. It was not. Acrylic base and sponges for water to improve scrubber efficiency. That's the big thing, and that's why I also was so eager to try that scrubber here, because you have that water reservoir on the bottom. And I use CO2 scrubbers for probably over 4 or 5 years now. I would not really run a reef without it, at least like a big tank, maybe a nano tank you can run without it, but on the big tank it definitely makes sense to invest in something like this. But if you don't keep your media inside the chamber a little bit moist, I saw that you deplete your media usually within a week, and changing every week my media inside the reactor here would be also a very costly thing. So I found kind of a way that I can almost extend the life cycle of the media 4 times. So up to 4 weeks. I usually, even on my older CO2 skimmer, only changed it every month, if at all, sometimes even every second month. Then we go on, we have intuitive design. So chambered design for maximum air scrubbing. That makes sense, most of them have that. Laser cut acrylic insert and sponges to reduce the media dust. There's definitely sponges in there. And I have to say their media here is actually not really dusty at all. That was actually a very positive experience. I usually get the one from BRS, and that one has definitely a little bit more dust inside, but that could also just be due to shipping and handling of the container. It says 5 easy to clean medium density sponges. So these are the 5 total sponges inside. Effortless refill media in seconds. That's absolutely true, and that's one thing I kind of hated a little bit on my last CO2 scrubber. I always had to unscrew screws, and then there was the tiniest little opening, so I barely got the media inside there. Here you can just kind of lift off the whole cap in just a couple seconds, and that one definitely makes it much easier to fill it. Convenient twist to open lid, that's what I just mentioned. Made with the highest quality materials. Then also we have a good to know section. The higher the concentration of CO2 in the skimmer pulls in, the greater the acidification of the water. That's for sure true. Drops in pH significantly inhibits coral calcification. That's why we try to increase it. Low pH leads to stressed corals and even loss of that coral itself. To be honest, I never really had a good case that I could say like, well, my low pH was purely, or the coral died because I had low pH back in the day. But there's a lot of evidence that you definitely should be in that 8.1-ish, 8.2-ish range at least during the day, that you have good coral growth, especially on the SPS corals, because they have a pure calcium skeleton, or actually a lot of calcium inside, and I'm actually not even sure how much it would really make a difference on the soft corals, but I think it's kind of just a good practice to keep that up. We recommend using the Aquaforest Air Scrubber together with the Aquaforest Air Scrubber Media and Carbon. I mean, of course you do that. It actually comes in a pretty cool little bottle, and I definitely appreciate a solid little bottle, which I can then afterwards use for all kinds of other stuff with my Reef. Maybe like put in a little bit a dosing container or something like this. I definitely like that more than these bags. Maybe it's not the most efficient way. Let me quick check here. Oh, it's fully recyclable. So all the friends out there who look for recyclable things, it's definitely, you can recycle that bottle and obviously not harm the environment further. So let me read what else we have here on the packaging. Let me read again what's great about this product. Again, the Aquaforest Air Scrubber can raise the pH 0.2 to 0.4 units, which maybe doesn't really sound a lot, but it is actually a lot when you consider for the aquarium and where people usually are and where the target range should be. Great media performance and efficiency. I agree to that one, based on the design of the skimmer. And the only thing, you know, they advertise it that you have a little divider here, which you can raise up, so you can do the CO2 absorbing media on the bottom and then kind of carbon on top to remove some, which they say, some odors and airborne toxins and volatile organic compounds and odors. But inside my own home, I'm, to be honest, not too concerned about the air I breathe, because I breathe it myself, so I'm thinking the tank should be good as well. But still, even without the carbon, great design, and let me show you a little bit more. By the way, I almost forgot, as a fellow European, actually makes me additionally proud that we have a company from Europe, actually from Poland sometimes. I'm originally from Switzerland, living now since 6 years in the US. But as an original European citizen, I appreciate other companies going from there. And Poland, I think, is one of the more underestimated countries back there. You always hear about London and Paris and all kinds of places to go. Poland, beautiful country. Had a couple times the opportunity to go there, to Warsaw especially. And that's company who is at least headquartered there. And I think they do beautiful marketing, and they just have a beautiful kind of design on all of their products. That's kind of another thing. I think if you buy things and they have like a super boring kind of design, it's not the same. So let's get quick to some of the results. I log with my Apex system my daily values of the pH in my Reef tank. So when I look at that graph here, I had an average of 7.83 pH with a minimum of 7.6. That was most likely during the night, and a maximum of just 8 as a peak during the day. And usually that peak is only for around like maybe half an hour or something like this, because it usually goes up, 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 and then when the lights go out, it falls down like over a cliff or something like this. And I remember the times before I even had a CO2 scrubber at all, I think I was never even really getting to 8.0. I was more like 7.6-ish something in the night and 7.9 during the day. And that actually even brought me to think about the CO2 scrubber. So these are some of the results when I added the Aquaforest Air Scrubber. So not surprisingly, obviously with new media, I immediately kind of peaked at around almost 8.33 pH, which is obviously very, very good, at least just for a CO2 scrubber. But even in the night, you fell maybe down to kind of 8, which I see here as a minimum point. I had 7.95 and the average is 8.13. So that's kind of almost a jump, kind of average to average from before to afterwards from 0.3. So with the claim of the scrubber raising 0.2 to 0.4, 0.3 is right in the middle. It's pretty accurate. I don't think you get much more out of it. But the biggest key is actually to hold that kind of average over 8 long term, or at least in my opinion, I at least want to get out 4 weeks out of it, because I don't want to buy every week new media to put in there. And let me show you how it looks actually now after 4 weeks. You see, after a while, that's probably like 3-ish, 4-ish weeks, kind of you definitely get a little bit down, which is not surprisingly, but I still get over the day, usually to that peak point of 8.15-ish. And in average, I still have a solid 8. Which is kind of great and definitely where I want to be. And usually I would keep that now at least for till I drop in the average below like 7.9-ish or something like this, and then I would add more. These guys can be very expensive if you try to go always for the top of the top of the top. You would just burn through media like crazy. I usually just take every couple days, usually it's every Sunday when I anyway do maintenance, I take my water bottle, something like this. It should be kind of filtered water, so don't kind of take just water you find outside or something like this. Take your water bottle and just remove the cap, and then I pour maybe around 100 milliliters or maybe 3-4 ounces of water just on top over the media. That additionally makes the whole media very, very moist. That's just what I do. It's not necessarily what Aquaforest recommends. That's what I do, and I see heavy increase of usage out of the media if I here and there make my media a little bit wet. So now let's get to the pros and cons of the whole scrubber. The only thing I didn't really like on the scrubber, I also got it with a air scrubber hose in a beautiful purple color. So that one, everything right on that one. But the length of the tube was definitely not long enough that I can run it from one side of my aquarium to the other side. So there, Aquaforest, I would probably definitely make that hose a little bit longer, because a lot of people have bigger aquariums, so you have to travel further away with your air. And I think if you spend a little bit money for a hose, you definitely don't want to kind of try to tie 2 hoses together. So definitely the hose was a little bit too short. Other than this, the only thing I think I saw as well is just some of the quality. I agree, it's very high-end quality material. So nothing feels cheap at all. It feels very, very solid. But when you go very, very close with your eye, and that's maybe only for me because I'm a little bit OCD sometimes on quality assurance of products, then you see the machining, how the thing was machined, and I think you could do that a little bit smoother. So Aquaforest quality control, maybe change your blades of your CNC machine a little bit more, or just move a little bit slower, that you get a little bit of smoother pattern there. But other than this, really, really great product. It's, I would say, really worth the price you pay for it. Now the things I really like on the product, which in my opinion, or at least I didn't really saw it on any kind of other CO2 scrubber I was researching on the internet, is I just kind of like the quick opening, that you can open it with that quick bayonet lock thing on top and easy fill your media inside. So that's top. Because even it sounds like a super basic little thing. If you change that every month and if you have almost getting a little funnel to get your media in there, that's just super annoying. And let's just make that a smooth experience. The other thing I really like is obviously the water reservoir underneath to create moisture. So that's a great thing. And I also like that it actually takes the air intake from the bottom and has that gap between the reservoir and the reactor body, that in case you would put a little bit too much water inside or it has too much moisture in the media, it can at no point fill that up and kind of make then that the skimmer can no longer draw any air out of it. That can be a big problem. I saw that in a lot of CO2 scrubbers where you have the 2 ports on the top and you can do the recirculation of the air. So you actually give the your skimmer, you take the air out of the CO2 reactor, but then the intake back into the reactor, you actually put the hose into your skimmer main chamber on top, that you actually suck back the already CO2 reduced air, and that way you can gain a little bit more efficiency and a little bit higher peak things out of it, but it's a really dangerous game. And it happened once to me that actually the media got so wet and I had then too much water in the skimmer body, so the skimmer couldn't draw water anymore. And you guys all know what happens when you kind of shut off the air intake to your skimmer. The water goes up and overfills the skimmer, and then often it happens that even your collection cup overflows, and since that thing is sitting in your aquarium, all the gunk and stuff inside your skimmer will actually go back into your aquarium and causes not only the pollution, because you have that skimmate that goes back into your sump. Even worse is because you kind of cycle it through the reactor, you get then water that actually goes through the CO2 media, and it absorbs, like it will drive up your pH so high that you actually can kill all your fish and all your corals. So it happened once to me. The good thing was I have my apex set that whenever my pH would get over, I think I have 8.5, it just shuts off the main return pump, because then that heavy pH or high pH water cannot go up to the main display. And I did that back in the days when I had a calc reactor, because in case the calc reactor would overdose the calc solution and drive my pH up, that can definitely harm your fish. And I just saw somebody which is a friend on the Instagram, on my Swiss Rag Reefer Instagram channel. He actually had the same incident, and he lost all of his fish and he lost all of his corals. What a tragedy, just by poorly designed, or not poorly designed, but it's just kind of this. If you do that recirculation, you have to be very careful. And I know there's a lot of do-it-yourself kind of moisture traps in a reactor kind of thing there, but be definitely careful. You can kill your whole system. But that cannot really happen on that one. At least, never say never, but everything is done on that kind of design to prevent it, because the air intake is from the bottom. And you have like that whole bottom is open. It's not only one tiny little opening which could clog. It's actually the whole surface on the bottom is open with that kind of sieve underneath, which helps you in that case. So just my little tip, if you want to get into the CO2 scrubber world, I know it's very tempting if you see these CO2 recirculation ideas, but they should be only for really professional things, or people who really constantly check their gear. So you don't want to be the guy who kind of kills the whole tank with having the wrong solution as a CO2 scrubber. That one is very safe. That's why I can definitely recommend that one. Check it out in the internet. You will find different reviews, everything, but I think everybody should look into it, because why not taking the chance to increase your pH finally in the desired area? And for me, it was, to be honest, almost a peace of mind, because when you start reefing, and things go maybe not very well in your reef, you always think like, well, is it a nitrate? Is it a phosphate? Is it the alkalinity? Is it maybe the light? Is it maybe the fish? Is it maybe everything kind of thing? And just to rule out that you have good pH, then at least you can kind of focus on something else and you don't try to chase any kind of record high pH levels. Again, reactor will bring you around 0.2-ish, maybe 0.3-ish. And if you measure and you're kind of on that 7.7, 7.8, it's definitely a good thing to do. I don't know how other people do that. Some people I hear, they just run the reef tank and they are naturally, however, maybe they just have constantly the window open and have no windows. In Hawaii, people don't have windows, right? They have like these little openings there, so you have constantly fresh air, and maybe that way you're over 8 pH, then it's good. But I had tanks in different houses in different areas, and I actually never made it over 8 pH in my tank, so that's why I use a scrubber. Thank you, Aquaforest, giving me the opportunity trying your product. And I don't even have to lie, it's really something I would recommend. But check it yourself out. There's a lot of videos, pictures, everything in the internet. Maybe even at the LFS, like a local fish store. Maybe you can even see it in real life before you buy it. But that's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions. I tried to put some useful links in the description that you also can check out the product itself, and also maybe some reasons why you even need to increase pH in your tank. Thank you. That's it.